Alright guys, what's going on? It's Cynical, welcome back to another one. Today I want to talk about some general Square Enix news, some stuff that came out last night that sort of shocked a lot of people in the community. It is to do with the, I guess, just general state of the company. In case you guys are out of the loop, Square Enix have recently gone through a pretty big change. There's quite a bit of reshuffling and reorganization going on within the company as of right now, as recently, the Square Enix president from 2013 up until now, Yotsuke Masuda, has stood down from presidency and has been replaced with Takashi Kiryu. Takashi's actually been a part of the corporate side of Square Enix for a number of years now. We've been in the director's position of the Square Enix Holdings side of the company since 2022. Now, it's only been about 2 months since Takashi has taken over, so it's way too soon to see if his takeover is actually going to benefit Square Enix or not. Certainly within his note that he left for the beginning of the year to kind of introduce his new presidency into Square Enix, he definitely came across with more of a younger mindset, a younger approach to SE, especially with the mention of AI being incorporated into the company. I know this rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, but I think what Square Enix are looking at doing is incorporating AI into the productivity side of things to make what is generally grueling and tedious jobs a lot more streamlined and easier, so that developers can focus on the stuff that actually matters. It was recently revealed that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth did use an AI development technique for its lip syncing in the game, so that the developers didn't have to go through and manually lip sync all of the characters. I think this is a case of AI where its use is actually integrated well, where it's taking away incredibly mundane tasks. There was another focus that the company announced not too long ago that they want to steer towards, and that is the blockchain, cloud-based, and NFT areas. Even with launching their first NFT projects in December of last year under Symbiogenesis. While blockchain stuff can be useful in some instances, looking at specifically the cloud-based and NFT side of things, get the can of kerosene and drench it. However, within a recent Square Enix Holdings meeting, some new information was recently revealed, as it is the end of the financial year, that Square Enix has lost an approximate 22 billion yen, somewhere around the 140 million USD mark. A lot of moolah. It mentioned the board of directors of Square Enix voted, in light of the myriad of changes underway in the environment surrounding its group, to revise the group's approach to the development of HD games. HD games meaning console-related games, with the intention of being more selective and focused in the allocation of development resources. As a result of a close examination of the group's development pipeline undertaken in keeping with this revised approach, the company expects to recognize approximately 22.1 billion in content abandonment losses for the fiscal year ended March 2024. This tells us that Square Enix are losing out in about $140 million worth of content, games, and projects that were in the pipeline that they have obviously deemed to be non-beneficial to the company. If we're looking at the past 5 years of Square Enix, they've kind of had an up and down timeline. There have been some great games that have released within this timeline. If we're mainly looking at something like Final Fantasy VII, the remake projects that's currently underway, remake performed pretty well. If we're looking at Final Fantasy 16 and Rebirth, it has been mentioned by Square Enix that these games haven't performed to their expectation. That being said though, they are quality titles. However, there also has been some, I'm gonna be straight up here, garbage in this mix though too. If we're looking at games like Babylon's Fall, which was meant to be this action RPG live service game developed by Platinum Games, that flopped, that failed. In less than a year, the service ended. We also had Avengers, which no doubt Square Enix as well as its shareholders were expecting amazing things from it and mass profits. There's also Balan Wonderworld, which is currently one of Square Enix's worst rated games.
Look at this fool! Look at this fool! What is this?
This is the Ghostbusters music? I saw something about this. The Balan Saga just gets worse and worse. Being a bumpy launch for Balan Wonderworld. And we also have the recently released Splatoon-like known as Foam Stars. Shout out to the 14 people that are currently playing Foam Stars. Go you! I hope you're enjoying yourself. And of course, we cannot forget the infamous Forspoken that quite literally led to the obliteration of a Square Enix studio. Yeah, to be honest, I kind of find this one a little bit sad because I did enjoy my time with Forspoken, but it just didn't turn out to be the game that Square Enix was expecting it to be. You better believe that they spent a shitload of money developing this game, and the public just wasn't having it. This led to the demise of Luminos Studios. They also had Final Fantasy VII The First Soldier, which was meant to be a battle royale game taking place in the universe of Final Fantasy VII. I think honestly the concept was kind of cool, but this utterly failed. This service only lasted for just over a year. Problem there is, it was locked on mobile. This game totally could have seen more success if it had launched on PC and consoles. And I think that's kind of part of the issue here. Square Enix are locked up with a lot of exclusivity when it comes to, specifically if we're looking at Final Fantasy. Of course, when looking at their comment that was made towards the sales of 16 and Rebirth not exactly performing to expectations, you have to look at it, the games are exclusive to PlayStation 5. This is probably something that they are taking into account, looking at this timed exclusive deal format not being beneficial to the company. And that also, when it comes to live service games, while yes, these can be cash cows, there are really only a few cases of live service games being truly successful, and that clearly in the video game industry, it's really hard to make a successful live service game. Square Enix are successful though when it does come to live service mobile titles that seem to have gacha systems. For some reason, this pumps money like no tomorrow, so it's probably why we continue to see Square Enix games in the mobile space continuing to pop up, because these are indeed a cash cow of sorts for the company. But any attempt to try and make a console experience or PC experience live service title has simply not worked for the company. And I think for us as the consumers, that's kind of a good thing, because as we all know, a lot of live service games are complete garbage. Again, there's only a few cases of some truly being successful and that do actually make sense from a consumer's point of view. This also tells us though that Square Enix are going to start being a lot more selective when it comes to the development of console related experiences, because yes, there have been a mass amount of Square Enix flops over the past 5 years. I know at the moment a lot of people are actually worried about the development status of Dragon Quest XII. Don't worry, I do not believe that this is in the mix of one of the projects that have since been cancelled. It was mentioned back in March that the development of Dragon Quest XII is still progressing, so that's nothing to worry about. It makes you wonder though, how many projects were in the pipeline at Square Enix that has amounted to a $140 million loss? This probably also tells us too that something like The World Ends With You 3 is never going to happen. Because again, Neo Twoi did not perform to Square Enix's expectations. It didn't sell well at all, and Square Enix are kind of partially to blame for this, as they didn't do a great job marketing the game. I think the same can also be said for something like Foam Stars. I saw pretty much no marketing towards Foam Stars, as well as like Babylon's Fall. Though looking at Babylon's Fall, that's just a bad game, full stop. And that they also decided to change the entire concept of Babylon's Fall into a live service game partway through development. That's probably issue number one. Now when it comes to Square Enix's heavy hitters, the ones that are lactating money for the company, looking towards something like, again, Dragon Quest, we got Final Fantasy, and of course Kingdom Hearts, those are their golden gooses. I don't think any issues are going on there in regards to potential projects that have been cancelled. But it seems like for the future of the company, they are going to be taking a very different approach, and honestly, this is nothing but good news. We of course want to see good quality games spawned from Square Enix, and not some of the garbage that we have been receiving over the past few years. However, on the other side of the coin, you also want the company to take some risks, and they certainly have been for the past few years. Most of these are not successful risks, but what I'm saying here is I do hope that Square Enix still continue to develop some fresh new IPs. Ones that of course do have quality behind them, and that they don't shy away from doing this. Don't stay comfortable with what just works. Definitely continue to try new things. You just have to be a little bit more, I guess, selective on what you are offering to your audience. Make sure it's something that they truly want. Just some interesting stuff that I thought I'd bring to your attention. Crazy to know, a various amount of different Square Enix projects will never see the light of day. Who knows exactly what these projects are? I mean, unless there's gonna be some kind of like database leak, which yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen for Square Enix's sake. Yeah, we'll pretty much never know exactly what this content that has been abandoned was. Now guys, that's all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to keep up with everything that's going on here. Check out my other social medias, and a big thank yous to my turkey-tastic patrons. Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day, and we'll talk real soon.